Well, hello and welcome. One of the things people always seem to want to know when you've got an old bus, or indeed even a new bus, is how fast it actually goes. And to be fair, it's not exactly a straightforward answer. All sorts of buses have all sorts of speeds. And then of course there's coaches. The top speed of buses is officially governed by law. In the early days of motor vehicles, there were ridiculously slow speed limits, 5 miles an hour for example. Over the years, of course, these increased to the heady heights of 10 miles an hour and then the supersonic speed of 30 miles an hour. And many of the buses from the interwar years, the 1920s and 1930s, were geared up to operate at this speed. After the war, things did start to improve a little bit, and you could see things like coach-seated Bristol low-deckers, which would probably quite happily plod along at 45 miles an hour, maybe a little bit more. FFN 399, the 1951 Guy Arab, owned by Friends of the East Kent for example, happily cruises along at about 37 miles an hour. Now she could potentially reach 40, but everything starts to jingle and vibrate in the cab, including the driver's dentures, so it's just really not worth going that fast. The late 1950s and very early 1960s would see the birth of the Leyland Atlantean and the Gay Hostess coaches. And officially, these would do 48 miles an hour on the Preston Bypass, the first motorway in the country. But I've heard that they could actually go a little bit faster, 55, maybe 60. And this was moving into the dawn of the motorway era, wasn't it? And coaches started to be designed for the motorway and main roads rather than just plodding along country lanes. And it's worth remembering when these motorways were first introduced, there was no upper speed limit. If your vehicle could do it, then it could do it. Although, of course, remembering that most of the time you were driving a vehicle with drum brakes and no retarder could be a bit of a failing point. The BMMO CM5 and the CM5T Motorway Express coaches being a very good example of this. These achieving speeds on a test track Nuneaton of up to 85 miles an hour. Although there are stories of them going faster, and I've heard stories of Leyland Leopards and AEC Reliances going well over the ton. Nowadays, buses tend to be governed around the 50 mile an hour mark. If they can reach that far, London buses tend to be a little bit slow. They're more plodders, but some modern buses will still happily do 60 mile an hour. And modern coaches tend to be governed at 100 kilometres per hour, which is around 65 miles an hour. And I've heard stories of de-restricted metro buses that again easily top to the ton. Thanks very much for watching. Bye for now.